Welcome to the Unleashed podcast, where we believe that life is better when it is lived on purpose. My name is Molly Brunk, and I'm joined with lead pastor of Be Hope Church, Brad Thompson. Brad, how in the world are you doing?
Molly B.
You good today?
Maybe better than you.
That's fair. That's fair. You know, being 7 months pregnant is not for the faint of heart. So It's all right.
What's been the most exciting thing about pregnancy?
About pregnancy? I think pregnancy is just a means to an end. So there hasn't been an exciting part about it. Every time I get to hear the heartbeat, that is super exciting. But other than that, we're just waiting till May. So we're just enduring at this point. So is that depressing? I don't know. That might be too dark to start off our podcast today.
I mean, sad for you. I remember when Janelle was pregnant. I loved when she was pregnant, but I wasn't the one who was pregnant. So.
I know. You do get out of a lot of things. Like, people don't make you do anything. Like, I don't think I've lifted something in months.
Or show up to work. I mean.
Okay. I am a diligent worker. Sometimes we have appointments. Okay, people?
I'm totally
Let's
kidding.
move on.
Oh, that was such a good one. Hey, today we're doing, title of this podcast is a random one. I love it. Habits, passion, and rocket fuel.
Rocket fuel.
Come
okay.
on, that's a great title, isn't it?
I didn't know if it's going to be rocket ships or not.
I don't know why I like rocket fuel. It just sounded better.
Okay.
Habits, passion, and a rocket fuel. And I've been wrestling with this idea that sometimes in life, just because we find ourselves tired doesn't mean that you aren't passionate about what you're doing. So here's where I think the tension is. I like to think that I have lots of energy. I don't know. Do you know how to first time guests come to Be Hope? And the only feedback she gave my wife was I had tons of energy.
Oh.
And she loved it.
That's good.
I got those positive vibes going.
That's good. I say, sometimes you do have a lot of energy in the office.
But to be honest with you, there are also days where I'm like, I'm exhausted. I think one of the examples I want to give is like, you know, I think everybody anticipates and expects that when they show up on Sunday, your pastor should be excited about what they're talking about. You should be motivated. And what they don't get to see is, like, sometimes I'm just as tired as they are. I got kids. I was down in Cincinnati the night before, you know, up till midnight, 1 a.m., getting up early. Like, there are just sometimes I'm tired. And I think sometimes what happens is we equate our level of energy with whether or not we are passionate about something. And so I think you can go into things with a huge level of energy. But then over time, as you get into the routines of things and things happen, we start to lose energy. And we think because we're tired, or I walk into the office and I'm not as motivated, or Molly, you have a bad day and you're like, I just don't really want to go today. Like, all of a sudden we feel within us that we have lost passion for something that has always given us we feel like we have lost passion that has given us energy to do the things we love. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that you're talking about this, because last night I had to preach for youth night, and I was talking to my mom beforehand, and I was like, I just feel like I have lost my edge. Like, I feel like I have no edge. I was telling her that I feel like everything about me is soft and round right now. and I was like, but I don't want that to diminish the respect that I have for the platform or for the craft. But I was like, I just don't have the same level of oomph in me right now. And that's like just where I'm at in life. Like, I'm tired all the time, like all this kind of stuff. And so I was wrestling with that of like, oh, am I not honoring this thing that I have been burdened with and this passion that I once had, because I don't feel like I have that edge, or I don't feel like I have that energy going into it and stuff. And so we just had this conversation yesterday.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people experience this. We were just talking about this with our team. It's going to be part of the message we preach this weekend. But I think we always start out with lots of energy for things, and we're passionate about it. So when you just get married, like, man, we're never going to fight. It's going to be amazing. When you first start dating somebody, like you're on the phone and texting and whatever screenagers do these days, like nonstop. Connor apparently loves pickleball, and he is so passionate about pickleball these days. It's like, got all this energy for at the beginning. Sometimes this happens in faith. Sometimes this happens, I think it happens in a relationship with God. We are like so passionate about God in the first 3 days where we've given our life to him. And then like all of a sudden you're a month in, you're 3 years in, you're 10 years in, and it's like, you don't have the same energy you did at the beginning. But I need you to see that just because you don't have the same energy right now for you, just because you don't have the same energy doesn't mean that you still aren't passionate about it. And so you're like, what does all that have to do with habits, passion, and rocket fuel? And I want you to think about passion and habits and rocket fuel in terms like a ship taking off. I think when we begin something, or we do something we're passionate about, there's a lot of energy behind it. So rocket ship takes off. Maybe Matt can put a rocket ship on for us as I talk about it. Taking off. There's so much energy to get a rocket ship off the ground to the moon, right? Think about all the fuel and everything that has to go in. There is so much energy that is taking place at that moment, right? But then once you get out of the grips of gravity and you start to get into, what do they call it?
Orbit?
Thank you. Once you get into orbit, right, there's this moment where all the energy falls off, right? And even though all the energy has fallen off, it is still on the trajectory to the moon. And so the question becomes like, in our lives and whatever it is we're passionate about, what happens when all the energy falls off? Like, what is the thing that keeps you on that trajectory? And this is where I think disciplines and habits come in. And so I'll give an example. Your mom is a perfect example of this. Not a your mom joke. This is not a your mom joke. But, your mom just recently lost her dad. And man, he had the best smile and laugh ever. And I was talking with her and I just said, hey, how you doing? And she said, man, probably like how you feeling now. Like, I have this grief. There's this weight. There's this heaviness. And it's day to day. And some days I want to come in and some days I don't. But then she said something fascinating. She said, but I'm just getting in my routine. I'm just doing my routine. And she said, I'm getting up. I'm reading the Bible, praying to God. I'm getting on my new rower that I got for Christmas, which I referred to your dad, so you can thank me for that, Sheila. But what she was saying was, I feel tired. It's heavy for me now, but I have routines that are now, they're keeping me in the game. They are keeping me on the trajectory of where I know we need to go at this time. And I think that's what habits do for our lives. I think sometimes, I know you guys give me a hard time about all the habit stuff, but I think there come seasons where you walk in and you're tired. You walk in and you don't want to be there. And I think what habits do is they provide the level of fuel that we need and keep us aligned with where we're going in a season when we may not have the energy to get through it.
Yeah. And I think that's why so often when people start in faith, like we talk about these spiritual habits of praying and reading your Bible, and it's not because we're legalistic and we think that God's going to smite you if you don't read your Bible. It's because we know the excitement and the that fuel sometimes wears off, or you have a hard day and you're like, well, where is the presence of God? Like, it's like, and so that's why we always talk about those things that you have to have in your life to sustain your faith, because it's not always going to be exciting. And so, that makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
Well, and I think some of it's too, like what you were teaching your students last night. I mean, I asked my son, what did you learn last night? And he was just saying, worship doesn't just happen at church, but worship is a habit within our lives that we do outside of church every day. There are things that we can do to worship. And it's like, and I think that's why sometimes people's faith ebbs and flows. It's because you think the only time I worship is when I come to church. When the reality, worship is something we do throughout the week that keeps us aligned with God, expresses our gratitude, and continues to pull us in a trajectory that's toward him. And I love that thought. And I think, you know, I had a conversation with somebody, and I think this is the other tension too, is just like your mom, this is a new season for her without her dad. I think people face new seasons all the time. So some people they're just stepping into college, or they're just getting married. I was talking to somebody on our staff, and they're saying there's just so many changes that are happening in my life right now. It feels overwhelming. And what I shared with them was, this is why habits matter. This is why the book that we're talking about now and with our team matters, is because when you are at a place that now feels unfamiliar, you need routines in your life that take you back to this place of, I don't want to say comfort, but familiarity that keeps you on track. Because I think time we face something new, or entering a season that's uncertain, it feels like, I think that's the time when we give up on things that really matter for our lives, like bedtime routines and I don't know, all the things that we should be doing. And that's when we find ourselves eating stuff we shouldn't, playing video games too late, right?
Yeah.
Like when you face something that was uncertain, or it's a new season, it's like you go to bad habits that make you feel better, but they don't keep you aligned. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you're making total sense. I think even just like the season that I'm in right now too, where it's like where I was so sick in the beginning, I was like, I didn't rely on my habits, and I felt that. Like I felt the depravity of that, of like, I just don't feel good in general, like not even just like physically, like it's like emotionally and spiritually, it's like what is going on?
Yeah.
And it was just because it was like, oh, I didn't rely on those things that I had my whole life. And so I think that was something that I was like, oh, I walked through that recently, of like not falling to my routine and not falling to my habits. And so now that there's more changes coming, I can see the importance of that and why I need to not let those things slip again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think really to summarize this thing, it's like, what are you saying, Brad? I think what I'm saying is, I'll say it the way my favorite YouTuber, he's a bodybuilder. He said, when your diet goes to crap at Christmas, and I'm phrasing it kindly.
I know.
He said, you just got to get back in the routine. You just got to show up at the gym. And I was like, seems simple, but it's so profound. Yeah. And I hate to, meathead this thing. But it's like, I don't want people to walk away in life because at times they're tired, or they've lost energy, or they've lost focus, and think, I'm no longer passionate about this thing.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to have good habits. For me, it's getting up early, reading the Bible, in prayer, working out, right? Making sure that I'm putting things that can fuel my body well. Those things matter to me. I don't care if people give me a hard time. They matter to me because they keep me on track. And anytime I'm not in those routines, I find myself definitely drifting.
Yeah.
So I would say you have to find routines that work for you. You have to find habits and practices that work for you, and know that those will be the things that continue to keep you aligned with where you're going in times when you don't have the energy. Yeah.
Do you think we still bully you about what you eat? I feel like everyone's been so much nicer about it.
Well, the staff was eating Taco Bell today.
Taco Bell?
Yeah, and I was like,
wow, you missed one staff lunch and they go to Taco Bell. That's crazy.
No, they didn't go. They brought it in. And I was like,
gourmet.
This room smells like
a frat
Satan's
house.
palace. And then somebody asked me, like, when's the last time you had Taco Bell? I'm like, begrudgingly, like 3 years ago. And before that, it was probably a decade.
You just feel everything in your body slow down when you eat Taco Bell.
Yeah. But hey, man, Hope or Nopes how about I do Hope or Nopes? Hope or Nope Taco Bell. Yeah, you got
it. Hope or Nopes for Taco Bell. I actually like Taco Bell, so I feel like I'm not the person to ask. So
what's your go-to?
I just soft tacos. That's all. I like pretty plain, and like nachos and a side of cheese.
Man,
plain Jane. You probably don't even know what you like. You
I
wouldn't
do.
even know what to order.
I went to Taco Bell a lot when I was a kid. The double stuffed tacos.
Oh, I don't know.
See, you don't even know.
No,
it's
I don't know.
It's a hard shell taco. It's a hard shell taco, and then you have a soft shell that's covered with beans and wrapped up on it.
Beans. Ugh.
So good.
Yucky.
My go-to was the nacho cheese chalupa, which they tell me they don't have anymore, but if you ask for it, they'll make it.
Oh, there you go.
Nacho cheese chalupa.
One of our staff members used to work at Taco Bell, so she knows all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, well,
so
we don't have typical hope or nopes for this episode. So, Brad, take it away.
We do have an announcement. This is, I don't know if, this is kind of a sad announcement.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to try this podcast for a season. And really the why behind it was to help people live on purpose, but also for me to give people maybe an insight a little more into my life since I don't have social, which is a big deal. And so I think we're heading into a season now where we have to shift our focus on things happening here. And there are lots of things happening between where the church is headed. Molly will be having a baby, so she's going to be out of commission. And then I know that you can't see behind the scenes, but we have a good friend of mine, Matt Scruggs, who produces all this. He's the one who takes all the things we shouldn't say and edits them out and makes us sound good. And sometimes maybe even profound if we...
Yeah. Make sure there's a purpose in every episode.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the one that keeps us on track and makes sure that we keep things in time. And he really puts more work in it than we do. And he recently has received some news about, what's the word I'm looking for, Molly?
He has gotten a health diagnosis recently.
Yeah.
And so we're just uncertain about some things right now.
We are.
Yeah.
And so we need to give him space in this time for his family and for his treatment and what is happening. And so, and this is just a moment where we're like, hey, this has been fun. Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll bring it back in the future, but we just want you to know for now, we're going to take a pause on where we're headed and what we're doing and allow some of our people who are required to be in this to have the space they need to take care of everything that is happening. And so I will say it has been fun. I've learned so much.
Yeah, it's been a good time. I don't even know how many episodes we've done.
I don't know.
A bunch.
I mean, compared to most podcasters, probably not a lot, but
I felt accomplished. I thought we've done a great job.
I never thought I would have had a podcast. I've done a podcast before. So here we are. So anyway, we just want to say thank you to you, the listener. And we really hope we can bring this back in the future. But just know for now, if you'd be praying for Matt, his family, if you'd be praying for Molly as she dives into this new season with kids, and if you'd be praying for Be Hope Church, man, we would be grateful as God continues to work in our lives. So there we have it. I don't know how to end this thing.
I don't know how to end it either. Love you.
Maybe we should just high five.
Bye.